All right. I think I've maybe successfully set this up now. Let me see. Okay. All right. Let's see. Is this working now? Awesome. Okay. Oh, yay, it's working. Okay, awesome. Cool. Awesome. Sorry, I'll move somewhere where you can see me better, guys. I ended up abandoning ship and switching to my laptop. So let me just go back upstairs where I meant to be in the first place. Give me just a second. This is very exciting. I was trying to do this on my iPad, but clearly that was the issue. So I'll figure that one out at a later date. All right. Got it. Give me just a second here. All right. And vice versa. Stop that. Stop. Okay, cool. Awesome. Yay. All right. Great. Awesome. Just adjust that. So it's a great. All right. Awesome. Now I'm switching over to YouTube so I can actually see your comments, everybody, and we'll do this thing. Awesome. All right. Cool. What's that? All right. Now it's all coming together. It's all happening. This is the first time I've ever attempted to do one of these. So, you know, technical difficulties were to be expected. Now I know. Hi, guys. Yeah, Michael, we want to keep it relatively spoiler-free. Certainly, I'm happy to chat with you guys about the more about like what your experiences were watching the live stream. I want to know more from like the technical side of things working, not working for you, etc. So yeah, that's the plan. So yeah, thanks, Patrick. I'm just figuring it out, you know. I'm gonna grab my laptop charger just because I'm afraid that my laptop will die. So I will be back in just a moment. All right. Perfect. There we go. Now it's all under control. Yeah, you can talk about the live stream just without actually talking about who won matches and whatnot. That's all fine with me. All right. Yeah, I had heard that there were some sound issues with the first match there. And there was some discussion, I guess, because overall people felt like, hey, the stream went pretty well. And so they were kind of talking about like, oh, why don't we just post that rather than editing it? And then there was a conversation of like, no, the audio was kind of rough in the first part, but they did get it fixed about halfway through, as you say, Haley. I think it depended on what device you were listening on to. Like, I know some people seem to be a lot more aware of the audio issues than others. But yeah. Yeah, the video stream went really well. It looked like this. Yeah, the sounds in the live event needed work. Yeah, exactly. This was definitely the first time we'd ever attempted anything like this. And it was also pretty crazy because, we did it in New York, like not even in LA where we have all of our usual resources, which isn't to say that they don't have great video resources in New York. They definitely do. It's just, we were not even in our home territory. So yeah, that's that. Did most of you guys in the chat get to actually watch the live stream? I know it was very, very chaotic there for a little bit because literally nobody knew about the Eventbrite blackout. Jeremy, yeah, if you Jeremy, if you buy a streaming ticket for the live event, then you would be able to watch at the same time that anybody at the $10 tier or higher is. However, everyone will be getting the edited version of what was in the live match in New York this Friday, February 1st. Thank you, Emma. I appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, when they played any music. Oh, okay. So the sound balance was off for you, Brain Machine Recording Studio. That's good to know. Yeah, and you watched with the live ticket with no problem, Oliver. That's great to hear. No issues. Awesome. Purchased the ticket earlier in the day. Yeah, as I said, the Eventbrite blackout thing was a total surprise to everyone. As far as I know, because even if you looked on Eventbrite, it was advertising the event up to the start time where the countdown was, where it was like, event starts in 23 hours. And it said that at 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific time on the day before the event. So that definitely took everybody by surprise. Oh, okay. So Bruce, you were actually there and you said that the thing will be Bruce Cooley. Yeah. That the sound balance was bad in the studio. Yeah. I think it also depends on where in the theater you were. As you say, there's certainly a possibility of people being, depending on where your seat was. I mean, even if you go to a show at like the Pantages here in LA, the sound can be so different depending on where in the theater you're sitting. Hello, Freak E. Where you were sitting, it was kind of iffy, Bruce. That's good to know. Yes, I saw that there was a question about the $11 tier. So all of the new tiers are going to release in February. So you'll be able to sign up for them. We just wanted to make sure that we really refined and defined what was supposed to be part of all of those tiers before we actually published them. So we knew exactly what everybody was going to be getting with each thing. So there will be more on that in February. How did the email situation for the live event get resolved without any big problems? Just because you guys are cool, honestly. I think that everyone, for the most part, has just been so understanding of the fact that this was very much an experiment for us, and we couldn't be expected to have everything go perfectly the first time around. So yeah, I think that's how everything got resolved without too much issue, is you guys were just really cool. Do you know if there will be more live events in other cities? Yes, we're definitely going to be doing live events in some other cities. I mean, Christian already announced on Jedi Council that we're definitely doing some matches in Chicago around Star Wars Celebration. We have another live event coming up in LA, and then we have another confirmed not LA live event that I can't quite talk about yet, but it's coming. So look forward to that announcement. Would I do a Harry Potter Iron Man match? I certainly want to do a Harry Potter exhibition match at some point for Patreon. I think that there are a lot of people in the Schmoedown community that know a lot about Harry Potter, obviously myself and Rachel included, which would be really, really fun. Let's see. Most of us should be seeing part of these first as badges of honor. Yeah, Patrick, that's true. You get to live through the technical hiccups that we have as we kind of acclimatize to what we are going to be doing. Andy, is it known when the date for the free-for-all will be solidified? It's it should be within the next week or so. I think that we are actually fully confirmed on our end. It's just not announced yet because it's not official. Yeah. Lana, are we looking for venues in the Northeast currently for more live shows? I am not sure. I know, we just did a show in New York, obviously, which is Northeast-ish. Certainly I would love to go do a show in Boston or wherever, somewhere in that neck of the woods. What do I have to do to get a live show in Philly? I don't know, man. We want to travel as much as we can. The live events are really, really fun. I think the Schmoedown is really well suited to that live event sort of setting because, again, it's a movie trivia show, but ultimately there is that sort of wrestling element to it that works so well in a live setting. I mean, you kind of need to have a little bit of an audience. And typically when we film in studio, we do have seats set up and some people come and watch in the studio, but, having that big crowd definitely adds to the whole event. Okay. I'm scrolling up on questions right now because there were a couple good ones that I missed while I was talking. Oh, great suggestion, Charles, of having each competitor represent a different Hogwarts house. I love that. Okay. Thomas, your question will be addressed in some storyline stuff in the upcoming matches that are airing. That's Thomas Reed, your question about the conflict of interest. Okay. And he talks of a show in Seattle. I don't know. As I say, I'm hoping that we get to travel quite a bit this year. So, yeah. Mike, I assume you would have been the Patreon commissioner no matter what. What if Tom had won? Listen, I'm glad we don't live in a world where we found out what would have happened if Tom won. You thought anarchy was bad. It would just be total pandemonium, I think. Michael Thompson asks, can we fold in the Star Wars League with Inner Geekdom after Star Wars Celebration? I know those Star Wars questions are getting really hard, man. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, the Star Wars thing almost really just kind of came about because we had the match where Freddie and Sam came in. Well, first Freddie and Sam played each other, and that was kind of one of those first things with Schmoedown, which we've done a number of times. Like we did the Power Rangers match. We did the thing with the cast of Ash vs. Evil Dead, where you basically bring in people when they're on their press tours, doing their promotion for their film or their TV show or whatever it is. And we, and it's like, instead of answering the same questions that every media outlet asks, some people are super cool and are like, yeah, we'll come to the Schmoedown. That wasn't the case with Sam and Freddie. They're just, personal friends of Christian and some other people associated with Collider. But that's sort of how the Star Wars League came about. And then it just kind of kept growing from there. And the questions they're definitely tough. So, could Star Wars become more of a trophy than a title? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's the same idea of like, if there's a Star Wars thing, and I get it because, for a long time, the Schmoedown was on Collider. Collider has multiple Star Wars shows, so it makes sense that way. What was I going to say? However, it's like if Star Wars has its own thing, then, there's just as much content to dissect, especially if you're only talking films. I mean, that's the thing about the Star Wars League is it's the movie trivia Schmoedown. So it's only questions about the Star Wars movies. But I mean, the Lord of the Rings films are pretty dense, especially when you loop in The Hobbit. There's all kinds of Harry Potter stuff. So, you could make an argument that any one of those could technically have its own league. So I totally get your point there of Star Wars becoming more of like an individual trophy than a league and a title unto itself. So Eric, all I can say is that I know Sam is definitely going to be at Star Wars Celebration. I don't know anything further than that as to whether he'll be competing in the Schmoedown or not. So we'll have to wait and see about that. Okay. Let's see. Da-da-da. All right. Just scrolling around here. Okay. Reveal. Oh, the final live stream numbers. It's kind of hard to tell, Brian, in terms of the live stream numbers, because it's a combination of people that were actually watching live versus people that were watching the VOD, the video on demand. So I really don't know the answer. I think that Thad probably has a rough estimate. But you know, I think when I was in the chat hanging out with you guys, there was like probably about like close to 1,000 people watching live, which was super cool. Certainly like high 700s. I remember watching for a little while. Okay. Let's see. All right. What do you think? What do I think of Little Bobby and the Juice? I think that Tom is a very creative person. Louis, when will the Schmoes vs. Patriots exhibition match air? That will be available early access for $10 plus patrons tomorrow. And then it will come out to the rest of the people on Patreon. Let me just double check the date on that because I have it written down. Let's see. I don't want to tell you guys the wrong info. Let's see. There it is. Okay. Okay, yeah, yeah, it is February 14th. Yep, 2 weeks later. That is correct. Any potential for a kayfabe Fife stock romance? Tom and I have joked about it would be pretty funny if we were a team. Let's see. Neil's asking about the digital wheel that they used in the New York match. I don't know that much about the digital wheel, quite honestly. Since I didn't go to New York, I didn't even really know about it at all. I just thought that it didn't even occur to me. The wheel is pretty big and heavy, so I was a little, it didn't occur to me that they wouldn't bring the wheel, though, of course, in retrospect, it made total sense. I don't know if it's customizable, if you can, like, pick a speed, because, yeah, you do have a little control over spinning the physical wheel. Andy, you want to see a Lord of the Rings match with Cucumber? Me too. Yeah, I really want to have a match with Cucumber, who, if you guys don't know, Cucumber is he's a felted friend. He does not like the word puppet. And he is an expert on Lord of the Rings. So I think that would be a really fun exhibition match for us to do on Patreon of like him versus Rachel, versus maybe we could get Ashley Robinson to come back. She knows so much about Lord of the Rings. And man, Mike Kalinowski, he likes to profess that he knows it. He's been studying it a lot. So it'd be kind of fun. How much does the wheel weigh, out of curiosity? Probably, if I had to guess, like a solid 60-ish pounds. It's hefty. It's pretty hefty. Let's see. Oh, if you do an Orlando live event, Disney or Harry Potter exhibition, yeah, that's a really good idea. Grace, yep. Yes, Nicholas, I can confirm that you will start to see Grace around the Schmoedown again. I don't know what she's got planned. She's tricky, that Grace, but yeah, she will be back on the Schmoedown this year. Eric Flynn, how much of Tom's character in the Showdown is made up and planned? Listen, Tom is a very creative fun guy to work with. And I think that he's played that character of Finstock for so long that he just like is so in it. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't even have to hardly think about it at all. He just inhabits that character and can just be him. It's really incredible to watch. Any plans to reinforce the pegs on the wheel? Yeah, I think so. Definitely, you know, just keep screwing them back on there. Make sure they're on there nice and tight. I don't know. It's quite the adventure. Let's see. Let's see. Just scrolling back through some of your questions to see if I missed them. Thomas asked about the links being different. Nope. I don't know. As I say, I think there maybe were a number of sources that you got the live link from. So again, that's why there's kind of still a question of like exactly how many people were watching. Okay. Do we hate Christian for bombarding everyone with win a goldfish here? You know, I haven't really been too present for that because I have never done Collider Live, but I'm sure that some of you guys either love it or are starting to get annoyed. All right. Yeah, back in the day, there was definitely some conversation of having Grace and I have a Schmoedown against one another. I think that storyline wise with stuff that's going on this year, it might not make as much sense, but who knows? It could come back as a grudge match for old time's sake. All right. So let's see. Haley, how many people work full time on the movie trivia Schmoedown? Let's see. So there's Christian, obviously, who's kind of in charge of everything. Thad is in charge of production on the Schmoedown. And then pretty much everybody else is sort of part-time on the Schmoedown. So, you know, like myself working on managing the Patreon, but obviously I do a lot of other things as well. Alex Marzonia, who some of you guys probably got a chance to go see play music in New York. He does a lot of the work on things like he prints out stuff for Patreon fulfillments. He makes the wheel slices. He does all kinds of different stuff for the Schmoedown. And then, you know, you've got people like Cobster and Cody and the crew that work on the Schmoedown, but also work at everything over on Collider. So it's, you know, it's a lot of moving parts, that's for sure. All right. Oh, Emma McAllister says, I'm not sure if you saw when I first asked, so what do you think are some of the best ways fans can help grow the audience? Patreon. I mean, I think that conversation goes both ways, because one of the things that I really want to know from you guys are some ways that, you know, we can make you happy that you are spending your money to help support the show. Obviously, the thing that's so great is you guys are here because you want to help support the show. You don't have to pay money to watch the Schmoedown. You don't. But you guys are electing to do that because you understand that, you know, we need money to do this production. And for that, we're so grateful. And so we basically want to find a way to, you know, thank you guys as much as possible. So I'm definitely looking for ideas from you of things that, you know, you would like to see in terms of Patreon rewards that, you know, make you happy to keep coming back or would make you want to upgrade to a higher tier, and that would, you know, entice other people to join as well. You know, my goal moving forward with the Patreon is to really stay open in terms of communicating with you guys and make sure that we're really fostering this sense of community that I know exists within the Schmoedown fan base, particularly amongst the patrons. So let's see. Neil, are we still going to only have Chris writing questions this year? I know that one of the big goals is, if we are able to get to a point that we feel like we can afford it, then, I think bringing on other writers is definitely a very good idea. Because again, it's like it diversifies the kind of questions that you get because, for example, like Chris and myself, I think, are into very, very different movies. So a lot of the questions that, sort of your average quote unquote competitor gets within the Schmoedown that they don't know the answer to is easy for me. I don't think anybody has ever answered a Miyazaki question correctly in the entire history of the Schmoedown, but I never get asked them. So that's a very good question. All right. So Haley, we do have a tier where patrons do submit questions for the Schmoedown. It is the $150 tier where people are able to submit a question that gets used in round one. So and my feeling about it is that actually is a very good tier because I think that one of the ways, just from my experience, having done a lot of stuff over on the Twitch side of things, where I was, especially at Hyper RPG, the Twitch channel that I freelance at, that I've done a number of tabletop role-playing games at, a lot of their business model is built around viewers being able to contribute money on Twitch to the stream to affect the story. So basically what we're doing is we are collectively telling a story. It's a collaborative process. And I think that that is one of the things that I really like within the Patreon tiers is, hey, at this level, you get to submit a question to a match. At this level, you get to decide what, slices are on the wheel, et cetera, et cetera. Because I think anything we can do to help you guys feel like you're being included somehow is good. Let's see. Okay, Rachel and Clark sending out shots to the fans during the awards. Why were they? I don't know what you're talking about, Michael. I was sitting with Clark and she was definitely not mad. So, let's see. Yeah, that's very true, Alex. Yeah, or Alec rather. Sorry. Yeah, I think that we just need to again, we have to keep that at a high level tier. I mean, as it is, we tend to sell out of those high level tiers, like the wheel sponsors and things like that, because we only right now, we only film so many episodes per month. So for fulfillment, we need to, we have to limit the number because otherwise there's no way we could fulfill all of that. And it is a produced show, so obviously there is a level of us having to really vet the questions, and even people who have submitted questions for the $150 tier, we always have them submit a few different ones, and we sort of decide which one works best for our needs, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Oh, that's an interesting suggestion, Vance. Yeah, I can certainly propose that. The idea that if somebody had a sponsored wheel slice that they have to keep it. I was about to say something about what happened in New York, but I won't because you guys will see on Friday. Yeah. Too many questions. Yeah, so basically, I mean, we could potentially, Chris, I see what you mean about the idea of $20 and you can submit a question, but you have no guarantee that it will be used. That is something we could maybe talk about. But, with the people that are submitting at the $150, at all those higher tier levels, we want to make sure that we have enough matches that we can absolutely fulfill what they want. So, yeah. Matthew, what is the new schedule going to be for matches each week? So basically, it depends on the tier level that you are at. So obviously, this Friday, we're kicking off the whole season with the edited version of the match that aired in New York. Unless you're a $10 plus patron, then you'll be seeing the Patriots versus Schmoes match tomorrow. And then so then next week is going to be the Harris Brothers versus Critically Acclaimed match. If you are at the $2 tier, then you will get the match on Monday. If you're at the $1 tier, then you will get it on Tuesday, and then everybody else will get it on Thursday. So basically, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are all so Monday and Tuesday are both early access days for either teams or Inner Geekdom. And then Friday is the day for singles. And then Thursday now is going to be the general access day for teams and Inner Geekdom, if that makes sense. Let's see. That is a very good question, Rob, about t-shirts. So basically, everybody's t-shirts are individual t-shirts that are theirs. So we all kind of have our own individual funds. I mean, some of it, basically a portion of it goes to the general Schmoedown, and then a portion of it goes to the competitor that it is specific to. So that's a very good question. Let's see. So Dick Grayson, just to clarify again on the whole question thing, the only way that again we would be able to incorporate being able to submit questions at a lower tier level is, again, if you basically submitted a question and had no idea whether or not it was ever going to be used. Does that make sense? Because right now, if you're at the $150 tier, you're submitting a question for round one, and we're guaranteeing that it's going to be used in the match. If we were to do it at a lower level, again, we would just kind of, Sklisky puts a lot of thought into the different categories and questions that go into round one, which isn't to say that it wouldn't be helpful for him to have a bigger pool of questions to go through, but ultimately he would still be vetting those questions. So it's definitely something we can talk about, but I can't make any guarantees. Will Andreyko ever watch Ready to Rumble? I think on principle, no. Nope. I think he's just like, absolutely not at this point. All right. What other questions do you guys have? Dave, will you accept Jeff Snyder into the Fife Club so he can stay teamed with Andreyko? Man, that's a big ask. I've had some history with Snyder, so we'll have to see how that goes. All right. Cass, I will let Christian know that you appreciate listening to your feedback. Let's see. If Sam watched Remember the Titans, we can only hope. It's true. Let's see. Andreyko's plans for the Schmoedown this year. You know, I think that he's definitely considering staying teamed up with Jeff Snyder. He's never really been super successful as part of a team in the Schmoedown before, and I think that he and Jeff have some good complementary knowledge. So we'll see. Let's see. Personal favorites to watch compete. Let's see, Haley. I like, who are some of my favorite competitors to watch? I mean, listen, I've competed against Tom Dagnino a number of times, and he may be all over the place when it comes to trivia, but he is he's definitely fun to watch. I mean, everybody loves the Wild Berries. You know, Josh McCouga and I used to host TV Talk together in its original format. So, you know, he's a good friend of mine, and he's always having fun. That's something that I really like and appreciate about Josh McCouga. I love Stacey Howard always is having a good time. She always like gives it her all, and especially when it comes to entrances and things. Janine is really coming up through the ranks in terms of, you know, her showmanship, and she's really good at movie trivia. So those are definitely some of my favorites that I can think of. with obviously with Rachel and Clark and Mark Andreyko being at the top for me, but I'm biased. Let's see. As someone that's been a competitor, interviewer, sat at the desk and managed and are now commissioner, which do you find less stressful? They all have their different things that are stressful or not stressful about them. I find that competing can be kind of stressful just because you're always because when you're competing, you're setting yourself up for a lot of judgment from the viewers, and it can be really difficult especially as a woman to go out there and put yourself out there like that, because, you know, if you don't play well, I'm sorry to say it, but not sorry, because it's the truth. You tend to be subject to more scrutiny and criticism than the men are. For example, you know, Ricky from formerly ETC, now Internet Today, who's one of my favorite people. He is not good at movie trivia. He's terrible at movie trivia, but he'll get up there and he'll play and he'll answer like 2 questions right, and people still love him. It's fun. He's funny. But like if a girl answers only 2 questions right, then people are like, what is she even doing here? She's terrible. She's a fake geek girl. So it can be stressful, though I do like competing. I have a lot of fun doing it. So yeah. But I really like calling matches. I hope to get to do that some more this year. Yeah, you know, but I started off doing interviews. So that is still, I think, probably what I feel most comfortable doing, just because that was kind of what I was brought on to the Schmoedown in the first place to do. Let's see. All right, let's see. That's a very good question. Who asked it? So Dick Rayson asked, how much is Ellis and how much is Harloff running the Schmoedown today? It feels like it's 90% Christian. I understand that from an outside viewpoint, but somebody asked a question about like a rules committee and things like that. That is all very much Ellis. Ellis is the one who is, refining stuff. He's also the person that really stays on top of within matches, along with my assistants, obviously making sure that Patreon stuff gets fulfilled. I mean, if you ever come on show day to a Schmoedown, like Ellis is in charge of that room. So I get from an outsider perspective, because Christian's the one that's always constantly like posting about it and pushing Schmoedown, but Ellis is very, very, very much involved in the show. Let's see. Yeah, so Neil, I think that's a good suggestion. We're still in the process of refining some stuff rules wise, and that's a good suggestion though, that once everything is all kind of settled, posting official Schmoedown rules. I think that's a very good idea. Let's see. Let's see. Oh yes, the Schmoes vs. Patriots comes up soon. Yeah, thanks, Haley. We'll definitely do more of these. I want to chat with you guys as often as I possibly can, just to kind of stay on top of like how you guys are feeling. And clearly, you know, I like to get feedback from you guys. This is a new year for the Schmoedown, and I think that there's a lot of stuff that we can do moving forward. So. Yeah, Bruce, Christian definitely has a lot of say when it comes to the storyline stuff. But yeah, I mean, Ellis is definitely on top of stuff production wise. Let's see. Oh, controversial decisions on challenges will be added to the actual rules. Things like pronunciation of words, or like the or a in a movie title. That is definitely something that has been addressed. So we will definitely address that more specifically going forward. Would I like to participate in the free-for-all this year? Sure, why not? That's going to be happening in LA. So it's going to be a big, fun live event. I'm down. What's one storyline thing that could have been that you really hated not happening? I don't know if it's, I can't really think of anything. I mean, obviously with the storyline, there's a lot, because the matches, the trivia part is all 100% real. There is a little of like, well, if this happens, then this is going to be, if this happens, blah, blah, blah. But I can't think of anything off the top of my head that is, that like didn't happen that I really wanted to happen. Thanks for joining us, Dick. Thanks for coming by. I'll, definitely planning on doing more of these with you guys, because again, it's nice to get your feedback on stuff. Oh, Andy, that's a good storyline of Brienne and Mike never actually teaming up, since Brienne kind of stepped back and was doing more Patreon stuff. That's a good idea. Dave, would you ever consider making challenge discussions that we don't usually see during the matches Patreon's exclusive content? I'd pay to hear what was said during J Fonda. That's actually a really good idea. Yeah, I will. I'll suggest that perhaps we can get a little insider look at some of the decision-making process. I don't hate that at all. That's a really good idea. Cass, just Cass. Oh, in terms of format, doing an actual like tag team Iron Man match. Yeah, I think that would be really fun. I would also like to see, as you know, we kind of bring more and more people into Inner Geekdom and the questions get harder because there's only a limited amount of properties that you are pulling from for those questions. I do think that it would be fun to do like teams in Inner Geekdom too. Especially because, like, for me, I am obviously really strong at Harry Potter and, like, Lord of the Rings, Middle-earth stuff. And then, like, you know, Marvel Cinematic Universe I'm pretty good at. And then, you know, there are people, though, that are really good at all the other random comic book movies. So they'd be, like, a really good compliment to me if we ever did a team league in Inner Geekdom. Oh, Bob asks, sorry, just joining. Is there a way to put questions on the screen in real time during the live streams? My inclination is yes, because obviously the questions are already written, at least the round one questions we would know well in advance. I don't know, because of the wheel, how complicated it would be to upload like every single possible question that we were going to get. But I mean, you can turn the auto subtitles on YouTube and it interprets them sort of. But yeah, I know what you mean about it being it would be nice if you could have the questions on the screen during the live matches. But unfortunately, with the wheel element and the choosing questions later in the match, we don't know what all the questions are going to be that's in the round. So it definitely adds a layer of complication. Any plans for Schmoedown to come to Toronto? Yeah, I mean, I was saying that I would love to, you know, travel with the show as much as possible. I think, you know, if we do go international, Canada is probably the first place we would go, just because it's the closest. So yeah, let's see. Yes, thank you, Michael, for coming by and hanging out with us. All right. Vance, I know a lot of people like the wild berries, including yourself. I like Elliot and Josh in real life is really what it boils down to. I don't understand why they keep being pushed forward. You know, because again, it's that whole idea of the Schmoedown is equal parts movie trivia show and wrestling show. It's so that basically, you know, we're dealing with, hold on. I'm getting a phone call, but I'm not going to answer. I will answer later. I'll call them back. So yeah, the live streams. All right. Dumb question. The competitors don't actually see the questions either. Nope, they don't, Rob. You just hear the questions. Yeah, we just hear the questions. So it is definitely a, hence that's kind of where the whole repeat the question thing came from of JT never hearing questions correctly. And then ultimately it became a strategy, but yeah. Probably a dumb question I didn't think of till now, but yeah, exactly. Let's see. I saw a question about actual captions for the hearing impaired instead of the auto-generated YouTube ones. That is definitely a good thing to consider. Full disclosure, I have never turned the captions on a Schmoedown match. So I'm assuming that all we have are the auto-generated ones, which is not ideal. So that's definitely something to talk about and consider adding to stuff in the future. Harloff mentioned to me in the chat a while back that had Makuga beaten Dagnino in his revenge tour, that's when Andreyko was going to be turned face. Yeah. He would be announced as Makuga's mystery teammate. Oh, that's so funny. No, it's, yeah, I got it, Vance. But yeah, like we were all talking about, it's part wrestling show. And even in wrestling, you have your just sort of comic relief characters. And that's what the Wild Berries are. They're comic relief. So yeah. Let's see. Any other questions? Probably going to wrap this up soon-ish. Let's see. Is the judge giving a hint grounds for a challenge? We can't really accept that, which in round 2, I'm not sure I totally understand the question, Neil. Trappy Jenkins, when can we expect the all period pieces match? Listen, I am fighting for that as a match, for an exhibition match for Patreon. It'll all just be like, you know, movies about British queens and Jane Austen adaptations. And there's a bunch of girls that work on the Schmoedown particularly that really want to do it. So, yeah, Nerd Chronic, I just answered the question. Any specific film or genre exhibition match you'd like to see? I mean, yeah, period pieces. I mean, specifically for me, it's Jane Austen adaptations, but, oh, Mike, any word on when Danielle Radford begins calling matches? Yes, Danielle will be calling a match. Let me just look at the schedule. She is calling a match in the middle of February. So so keep your eyes out for her. Dave Drano, are we getting a Black History Month exhibition match? That is the plan as far as I know. Reefton, who would you predict to become champion this season? I mean, we're going to be bringing in a bunch of new competitors, so it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, there are some more seasoned competitors who are still in the mix, who I think are hungry to get belts back. So it's definitely going to be an interesting year. Okay. Trappy Jenkins, any other new ideas for matches this season? Well, I already talked about how I want to have a Lord of the Rings match with Rachel and Cucumber and who knows who else. Let's see. I also, oh man, people have been suggesting the idea of wanting to do like an all Disney match, which I think would be fun. What else would be fun? I was joking with Drew McWeeny about doing one that's only questions about Fire Festival documentaries, or that Fire Festival documentaries needs to be its own category. Let's see. All right. Goodbye, other Emma. Yeah, Trappy, I would definitely do an all animated one. That would be fun. Let's see. Cast Just Cast, a suggestion. I really liked the numbered envelopes that the competitors pick in round 3, making it more dramatic and easier to keep track of selected numbers. So that they wouldn't pick they basically draw numbers like out of a hat, what you're saying, like we did for like, say, the horror exhibition match, where instead of having a wheel, they like drew out of a hat, essentially. That's not a bad idea. Yeah. And then you could just literally hand back the numbers to the people at the desk. That's not a bad suggestion at all. Lance, are we getting more competitors for Inner Geekdom this season? We sure are. We'll be filming a crop of new Inner Geekdom competitors in February. The match, I don't think will air until March, but yeah, somebody was asking how long it is between taping and airing. So the longest ever was this past Schmoedown Spectacular, which we filmed on, I want to say, November 3rd, and it didn't come out until just before Christmas. Obviously, there's a lot more involved in that because there's a lot of sketches and storyline kind of stuff going on, and there's so many matches. Normally, we don't need that long. You know, the turnaround on a match can be quite quick. You know, something can be filmed. I mean, for example, the live event was filmed on the 26th, and then it's going to be all edited and fancy looking and good to go on Friday. So it can definitely be that fast. Let's see. Nicholas Norman, are you taping more matches now that it's on a Saturday? Yeah, we're now taping like 4 or 5 matches on a Saturday typically. Whereas we used to do on Fridays, we would tape like 2, maybe 3 matches. Sometimes we'd only tape 1. Honestly, having more matches taped on a single day on a Saturday it makes it's a lot easier for me in some ways, in terms of Patreon fulfillments, because I have access to more competitors on any given day. Because it's like, okay, I know on this Saturday I'm going to have all these competitors in, and I need to, you know, film behind the scenes stuff, or I need to film, or I need to get like a thank you video, or for people to write postcards or whatever. And I know that I'll have X number, who I'll have and what day I'll have them. So it actually is pretty great. Let's see. Brian, the Brain Machine Recording Studio asks, are there different / easier, harder questions for the final round depending on if it is a 2, 3, or 5 point question? Yeah. So basically the way the format of the questions are, is, and it's the same in round 2 also. Like round 2 has a mixture of, like easier and harder questions. They try to do, and you know, Chris is really good about having a good mix of like, okay, well, you know, this isn't a category you're strong in, but you know, if you've ever seen this movie or read its IMDb, you might know the answer to this question, versus having deep plot cuts. But the 2, 3, and 5 point questions are, yeah, it's broken down. So let's say you picked number 5 for your 2 point question. If you go to number 5 and the category is, say, Oscar movies, you'll see it listed when you're reading the document as like, here's the 2 point question, here's the 3 point question, here's the 5 point question. So yeah. Let's see. Trappy Jenkins, do you ever have the same competitors doing 2 matches a day? Yes, we definitely do. And we try not to, and most competitors don't really. It depends. There's some people don't like doing 2 matches in a day. Some people are like, no, I've already gotten in the groove. And other people are like, no, I'm tired. So it just kind of depends. We generally try to avoid it, but it happens. Let's see. So let's see, Trappy, just to address your comment about the spin from the wheel memes is I don't think that we were proposing getting rid of the wheel. That's not going anywhere. We put a lot of effort and love into making that wheel. I think it was more in the third round of drawing numbers out of a hat rather than saying which numbers you want to pick. I mean, as it is, you have no idea what categories the numbers are, but there is a factor of like you picked those numbers, and moving over to the format of having people draw numbers out of an envelope almost makes it more like spinning the wheel, where you really truly have no control over it. I mean, you can try based on how fast you're spinning the wheel or where you're starting it. Like, there's a lot of people that like try to have wheel strategies, but you know, how much it works out, we'll see. Great. What is your favorite match you assisted? Nicholas Normandin wants to know. Favorite match I assisted. I mean, I've always been around peripherally, like since I started working on Schmoedown. I've been around for so many matches that like they all kind of blur together. You know, I'll never forget being in the audience during that crazy Star Wars Iron Man match that Ken and Sam Witwer had. That was crazy. I mean, I loved the match between Clark and Rachel and Brienne and her partner when they won the belt for Team Champions. That entrance was really, really fun. I also loved the live event that Rachel and Clark competed in against Team Action. We had so much fun, and just to like do all the theatrics of it and be in a crowd like full of people, it was just a really good energy. So yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea, Trappy. I should do a video about people doing spinning the wheel and having their wheel strategies as part of the behind the scenes. Oh, you still have your Fight Club soap? That's awesome, Trappy. Yeah, Patrick, I don't think we ever had an AMA go this long. Again, I wanted to just have a chance to, you know, sit down with you guys and really get some feedback from you. And I think that we've gotten some good stuff. So again, I'm planning on doing an evening one next week, just because I know there were a lot of people like within the continental US who this time was hard for them to watch. And this one I'm, you know, hopefully going to archive and put up there. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, I think, you know, moving forward and working with you guys. You might also notice, I'm just going to start to wrap things up here. You might also notice that as we, within the Patreon itself, on the community tab, when you guys post up there, you might see PJ Campbell responding to some of the posts there. He is kind of helping me out with some Patreon stuff. I've asked him to keep an eye on the community tab. So anything that he answers on there is the correct answer to a question. And if he doesn't know, he's going to ask me, and also make sure that I see anything in there that's really pertinent. So yeah, there you go. And then I will answer, let's see. Nerd Chronic asks, any ideas to implement audio or video based questions with screens and speakers? I mean, someday I'm hoping with like the real, I'm hoping to really amp up the AMAs that we do for Patreon with competitors that won't just be with me. This AMA was more for me to sit down with you guys and get some feedback from you, but and which I super appreciate. You guys have all had really good questions, and this has been really great. But yeah, for the actual AMA, I would love to have like call-ins or videos and like really spruce it up. I don't know that that's going to happen for a while yet, but you know, Thad and I are definitely talking about what we can do to kind of amp up the bonus content that our patrons get. I think it's a really, that's something that we really want to focus on this year. And then last question, Kyle Harlow asks, how is the difficulty level of a question determined for the 2, 3, and 5 point questions? It's kind of relative. It's, you know, it can definitely be subjective. It's trivia. What sticks in your brain versus what sticks in somebody else's brain. For the most part, though, you'll notice that 2, 3, or 5 point question that, 2-point questions a lot of the time are, hey, who played so-and-so in this movie? And, you can figure that out by reading the IMDb. A 3-point question might be something that's a more obscure character in the film, or it's a plot point that's really, really well known, like something like, what kind of candy is prominently featured in the film E.T.? Like it's because the Reese's Pieces are so prominent in that film. And then the 5-point ones, for the most part, it's either going to be like a question about a really obscure character, or those are ones that are going to be more plot focused typically because you have to have actually seen the movie. Because there's a lot of questions that get asked in the Schmoedown that, like, if you haven't seen the movie, if you're just aware of the movie, there's a chance you can answer the question. So that's kind of the main thought process, I think, behind the 2, 3, and 5s. So yeah, awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much, guys. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you all hanging out with me and giving me your feedback. Again, we're going to do another one of these really soon. Sometimes next week, we'll do one in the evening. So if you're able to join then, please feel free to come back. I am going to archive this for people who didn't get a chance to watch, hopefully, assuming it appropriately archived, but we'll see. If not, this was great, and I'm going to do it again really soon. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and have a really great rest of your day. Bye.